Wild Things raises pheasants and partridges to restock the woodlands and has room to raise 100 birds during the season. The cost of raising one bird is $20 per pheasant and $30 per partridge. The Wildlife Foundation pays Wild Things for the birds. The latter clears for a profit of $14 per pheasant and $16 per partridge. Wild Things has $2,400 available to cover costs. How many of each type of bird should they raise to obtain the maximum profit? So the variables are x equals pheasants and y equals partridges. And then we have to find the constraints. So x is greater than or equal to 0, and y is greater than or equal to 0, because you can't have a negative amount. And then 20x plus 30y is less than or equal to 2,400, and x plus y is less than or equal to 100, and it's x plus y is less than or equal to 100 because they can only take 100 birds, and it's 20x plus 30y is less than or equal to 2,400 because they only have $2,400 to spend.
Okay, now we're going to find the objective function, which will be c equals 14x plus 16y, because it's $14 per pheasant and $16 per partridge. So now that we have that, we're going to plot our points and decide where to shade. So first, the easiest ones are to do the x is greater than or equal to 0 and y is greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to draw those in, just red on the x and y axes, xi. And then we're going to be shading up on both of these, or towards the 0 and positive. Because if 0 is equal to 0, and so it's true, so we're going to need to shade the 0. And then next, we're going to do the x plus y is greater than or equal to 0. If we plug in 0 for x, it would end up being 0 plus y is less than or equal to 100. And so we get y is less than or equal to 100. So we go up to our y-axis and plot that, and since we're going by 20s, we're going to count 20, 40, 60, 85 up and make our point. And then if we plugged in 0 for x, we would get, if we plugged in 0 for y, we would get x is less than or equal to 100. So then we go to our x-axis and count 5 and put 1 on the 100. And then we make our line. And if we plugged in 0 for both of those, we would get that 0 is in fact less than 100, so it's true. So we're going to be shading towards the 0 or down. And then next it will be the 20x plus 30y is less than or equal to 2,400. So if we plug in 0 for x, we would get 30y is less than or equal to 2,400. And if we divide by 30 on each side, we get y is less than or equal to 80. And if we do the same thing with the x, and to find the x, we would get 20, oops, sorry, okay, 20x is less than or equal to 2400. If we divide by 20 on each side, we get that x is less than or equal to 120. So now that we have those points, we go up to our y-axis and go to point 80. So that's 20, 40, 60, 80. And then on the x, we need to go to 120. So we're going to go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. And connecting those points, if I can make a straight line, oops. And then if we plugged in 0 for both of those numbers, it would be less than 2400, so that's also true, so we would need to shade down here too. So now that we have all that filled in, we need to decide that the darkest place that would be shaded is right in here. So now to find the vertices, we obviously have one here, 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 and then somewhere where it intersects. So first, our most obvious point would be 0, 0. And then the next one would be would be 100 and 0, and then it would be 0 and 80. And now we're going to need to find the intersection point.
So to find the last intersection point, we are going to have to solve. We're going to solve it through substitution. And since these two lines are x plus y equals 100 and 20x plus 30y equals 2,400, we are going to solve for y. So to use substitution, we are going to have to solve one of these equations for x or y, and we'll just do the top one since it's easiest. So y would equal negative x plus 100. So in substitution, you just substitute your first equation in your second equation. So we would have 20x plus 30 times negative x plus 100 equals 2,400. Just simplify this. So x would equal negative 60. Just 60. And so since we have what x is, we can just plug it into this first equation. 60 plus y equals 100, and y would equal 40. Since we have all the vertices now, we can plug it into our objective function and find our minimum and maximum. So our objective function is c equals 14x plus 16y, so we will just plug in the vertices for each of them. So 14 times 0 plus 16 times 0 is 0. 100 times 0 plus 16 times 0 equals, oops, sorry, messed that one up. This is 14 times 100. That equals 1,400. 14 times 0 plus 16 times 80 equals 1,280. And then 60 times 14 plus 16 times 40 equals 1,480. Our minimum would be 0, and our maximum would be 1,480. But since we are just looking for the maximum profit, our answer would be 60 pheasants and 40 partridges for a total of $1,480. And that is the answer.